Have you ever looked at a dollar bill and thought, this is value? Maybe it was a euro, a yen, or a British pound. To most people, that slip of paper is a symbol of wealth, a hard-earned piece of security. But what if I told you that what you're holding isn't wealth at all, it's just a fading promise? A promise that's quietly losing value every single day. Welcome to Prosperity Magic, where we decode the hidden forces shaping your financial future. And today, I want to show you a war you never saw coming. A war without bombs, without borders, and without a single bullet fired. A war being fought in silence, and the casualties? They're counted in purchasing power, not in lives. The invisible battlefield, you won't hear sirens. You won't see leaders around a table shouting across borders. There's no press conference, no declaration of hostility. But make no mistake, this is an economic war, and it's already in motion. Its weapons are not tanks or drones. Its arsenal is far more subtle, far more dangerous. It's a machine, an endlessly humming printing press, flooding the world with promises that look like money. Modern empires no longer conquer with swords and cannons. They dominate through monetary policy. They siphon wealth through quiet decisions made behind closed doors, in boardrooms at Jackson Hole, in luxury halls at Davos, inside the marble walls of central banks. Decisions made by a handful of elites. Ones that determine who rises and who falls, who gets rich and who gets left behind. And they do it without drawing blood. The Great Devaluation, what does this mean for you? It means you can work tirelessly for 30 years. You can save diligently, skipping vacations, delaying gratification, hoping to one day afford a home, a peaceful retirement, a future you earned. Then one morning you wake up and discover that the money you saved has silently lost 20%, 30%, maybe even 50% of its value. Not because of something you did, but because someone else decided to inflate the money supply. You were never consulted. I call this the silent invasion, an economic assault on the pockets of ordinary people. No bombs. No guns. Just a slow erosion of your buying power, a quiet theft of your labor's worth. You are asked to work harder for less. And the difference? It slips into the coffers of those who control the money. A system without mercy. Picture this. You're rowing a tiny boat across the ocean. You think you're making progress because you're paddling nonstop. But beneath the surface, an unseen current is dragging you backward. That current is inflation. Designed, manipulated, and unleashed by those who own the printing press. They don't need to create real value. They just print money and then funnel it into high-yield assets, real estate, stocks, bonds, exclusive shares, things the average person can't access. You get the cash. The rapidly devaluing kind. And while you're holding paper, they're holding property. While you're saving, they're investing. While you work, they accumulate. Your hard-earned savings are being eaten away, one silent nibble at a time. Like termites gnawing through wood, inflation devours your future. The theater of finance, what we're living in isn't a fair economy, it's a grand stage play. One where everyday people are mere extras and the lead roles are always reserved for those who control the currency supply. This is not a conspiracy. This is a system. And unless you learn to see it for what it is, you'll always be the one paying the price. A smart investor doesn't put blind faith in fiat. They ask, who controls the money supply? Where's the money flowing? And how do I convert this paper promise into real, lasting value before it's too late? Because if you still believe that printing money equals economic growth, you're not the hero of this story. You're the resource being extracted. The language of deception. Don't be fooled by the silence of the G7 summits. Don't be lulled by the polite language of stabilization and macroeconomic coordination. When they say they're stabilizing the economy, what they really mean is they're preserving the wealth of the ultra-rich. You're allowed to listen. You're allowed to hope. But you're not allowed to win. That's why I say this is no longer a robbery with weapons. It's theft by currency. Lessons from crisis. I speak to you as someone who's lived through multiple financial crises. I've seen the 2008 money drop from helicopters. I've watched markets crash in 2020, and I've witnessed inflation consume household budgets in the aftermath of the pandemic. But never have I seen such a calculated illusion as the monetary magic the G7 has performed since 2020. In the wake of COVID, these nations printed more money than in the previous 100 years combined. The US unleashed trillions. The EU pushed interest rates below zero. Japan tried to rescue a falling yen. The UK quietly pumped liquidity into half-dead banks. And they didn't call it destruction. They called it stimulus. They called it recovery. Sounds noble, right? But take a long, hard look at your wallet. Food prices have doubled. Housing is so inflated, a young person today would have to work a lifetime just to afford a fraction of what their parents had. Monthly expenses feel heavier, like invisible weights dragging you down slowly, quietly. And this is what they call help? The engineered flood. What you're experiencing isn't an accident. It's not natural inflation. It's not just a side effect. From the inside, I can tell you it's a designed outcome. This is not a weather event. It's a dam that was opened with full intent. You might have thought printing money meant more jobs, more prosperity. But you forgot. Money doesn't fall into your hands by default. It has a destination. It follows a map. And that map leads straight to the financial institutions, the asset-holding corporations, the hedge funds, and the insiders who already know where the next injection is going. You get a stimulus check, maybe $200, a minimum wage, a speech about recovery. But you're still drowning in utility bills, in rent, in fuel costs. You think you're swimming forward, but you're just treading water in a river that's flowing the other way. The real theft, let me be clear, inflation is not just a number. It's a heist. A sophisticated, systemic heist. It steals the value of your labor. It steals the time you've traded for money. It steals the dreams you've built on the assumption that effort leads to reward. And who benefits? The ones behind the curtain. The policymakers who dictate interest rates. The central banks that control liquidity. The corporations that get first access to cheap capital. They sell you hope. They sell you words like rescue, relief, and resilience. But beneath that shiny paint, a massive transfer of wealth is happening legally. We live in a system where the worker loses and the money holder wins. Not because of talent, not because of innovation, but because of position. This is no longer economics. It's class warfare with a suit and tie. Time to wake up. If you're still sitting on cash, you're losing. If you're still trusting government-reported inflation numbers, you're dreaming someone else's dream. So what can a smart investor do? 1. Stop believing fiat currency is a safe haven. 2. Move your money into real assets, gold, land, equity in valuable companies. 3. Invest in your awareness. Learn how money flows. Understand elite behavior. 4. Always ask, where is this money going? Who's controlling the spigot? 5. Don't follow the crowd. By the time they wake up, it's already too late. Act like the fox, quiet, observant, and strike only when the prey still thinks it's safe. The final act of the magic trick, if you're not alert, you'll be the last one to leave the table. And when you do, the only thing left will be the bill. Monetary policy sounds like a noble science. But in reality, it's the most powerful magic trick the financial elite have ever devised. A global stage, billions of spectators, and almost no one realizing they're part of the trick. So next time you hear the words quantitative easing, flexible monetary policy, or economic stimulus, don't just nod along. These aren't words of salvation. They're the opening lines of a redistribution playbook, one where the rich collect assets while the poor collect devalued promises. Closing message: there's a machine in the basement of the financial world. A silent, tireless machine. And it prints money day and night, not to feed your family or to help your business, but to concentrate power at the top. And until you learn how it works, it will keep robbing you one paycheck at a time. This is prosperity magic, and we're here to reveal what's real behind the curtain. Because your wealth, your time, and your future should not be decided by a machine you never even knew existed. Stay sharp, stay curious, and above all, stay free. We ended the previous part by peeling back the curtain on the silent war, where governments print money in the name of rescue, but in reality, they're just reshuffling power. But here's the question we must ask now: where does all the printed money actually go? The answer? Straight into the hands of the powerful. Corporations, hedge funds, investment giants, these are the real beneficiaries of liquidity injections. They don't save the money. They don't stash it under mattresses. They convert it into stocks, real estate, precious metals, and sometimes even political influence. And I can almost guarantee that while you're carefully budgeting every dollar, someone on Wall Street just received hundreds of millions in fresh capital thanks to those same monetary policies. And what did they do with it? They bought up the very assets you've spent years dreaming of. Fast forward just a few months, and you might find yourself renting an apartment from that investor, paying double what it cost just recently. Why? Because housing prices have soared not due to natural demand, but due to a marketplace inflated like a balloon, manipulated by unseen hands. This is the real magic trick of the modern economy. The poor clap when money is printed, thinking relief is on the way. But what lands in their hands is a piece of paper with less value than before. Meanwhile, the wealthy? They're smiling. Because the assets they own are rising with inflation. It's a silent reversal of fortune. Money is no longer a tool for trade, it's become a weapon for redistributing power. I've been in the investment world long enough to tell you this: cash is never truly money unless it comes with leverage. And make no mistake, the elite don't hoard paper currency. They accumulate inflation-proof assets, controlling shares, and market-shaping information. They're not watching the daily price of gold. They're tracking who owns the next gold mine approved for extraction. They're not buying real estate for the view. They're buying based on urban expansion plans 5 years out. So if you still believe holding on to cash makes you safe, I'm sorry to say you're on the wrong side of this game. This monetary illusion isn't creating new wealth, it's just transferring it from your pocket into theirs. No one's getting rich. They're just switching seats. And bad news. The seats are moving away from you. That's why you don't need a PhD in economics to survive. You just need to wake up and think differently. A wise investor doesn't ask, "What's the interest rate today?" A wise investor asks, "Where is the newly printed money flowing?" Because here's the hard truth. Money never dies. It only moves. And if you don't know where it's going, you are exactly where it's leaving. So how do you protect yourself from this financial sorcery? Simple. Don't hold cash. Hold real assets. And most importantly, hold your awareness. Because this trick only works as long as the audience stays asleep. I've sat at those private dinners at Davis and Harvow's, the kind where the world's most powerful people toast over champagne and talk about global financial stability. But what sent chills down my spine wasn't the numbers, it was how casually they talked about you. About the masses. As if ordinary citizens were just pawns in a much bigger chess game. And you might think I'm exaggerating. But I'm not. Right now, poor and middle-class families are stepping into traps voluntarily and cheering while they do it. They celebrate low interest rates, easier lending policies. But they don't realize it's just the door swinging open to lead them deeper into the food chain. When interest rates drop, the money in your hand quietly loses its value day by day. Meanwhile, housing prices explode, the cost of living surges. And yet people still think it's a golden opportunity. I bet you've seen it too, someone rushing into the stock market like a moth to a flame. Why? Because the rumors say money is cheap. The government is supporting us. Now is the time for small investors. But what they don't see is the stage has already been set by massive institutional capital and they're just playing supporting roles, helping create the wave while others surf ahead. So what does this all mean? It means the poor are entering the markets thinking they're finally on par with the elites, while the elites have already exited. They've moved their capital into hard assets. They're waiting for the crash, the chaos. And when it comes, they'll buy everything back at a discount. Meanwhile, the everyday investor is holding cash, thinking that's safety. But in reality, that cash is melting like ice under the sun. Quietly. Constantly. And the smart ones? They're holding gold. Accumulating land. Owning strategic shares in irreplaceable industries, energy, minerals, data, water. That's when I realized the truth: in the currency game, those who cling to money lose, those who hold value win. And I don't blame the poor. I truly don't. I feel for them. Because the real victim isn't the one being attacked, it's the one who doesn't even realize an attack is happening. The consequences are crystal clear. Standards of living are dropping and people can't explain why. Housing is now a luxury, completely detached from wages. Young people, despite working hard, feel their future slipping away. And worst of all, they've lost faith in the fairness of the system. You ask me what a smart investor should do. I won't give you cliches like go study finance. No, I'll tell you this: learn to think against the crowd. When everyone's buying houses, you sell. When people flee gold, you accumulate. When they believe the stimulus will save them. You ask, who's actually being saved? Because the market doesn't run on morality. It runs on rhythm and the cunning of those who know the beat. You don't need to be fast. Just don't run in the wrong direction. Don't blindly follow a crowd singing the song written by their puppet masters. People lose not because they're stupid, but because they think they're winning. And in this grand monetary illusion, the poor are not just victims. They are the ones being hypnotized. To break free from that spell, they don't need another dream. They need a wake-up call. I'm not preaching. I'm just sharing how I survived. So if you're still holding on to cash, still believing that printing more money is the answer for the people, please remember this. The elites don't print money to spend. They print to seize. And if you don't understand that, sooner or later, you'll become their final reward in this silent, bloodless war. If you're finding value in this message, do me one small favor. Like this video, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button to follow Prosperity Magic. Because in this game, the first step to winning is knowing you're being played. The elite built highways, smooth, fast, and hypnotic, not for your convenience, but to funnel every small stream of money into a system they fully control. They set the rules. They built the toll booths. And while most chase after efficiency, the wise look for hidden paths, go early, and build roads of their own. Eventually, you'll come to realize something that will change your life. Money is just paper. What you truly seek is something with a soul. And by soul, I mean value. I mean belief. I mean the rare ability to stand firm when the entire world loses its way. No, you can't control the printing press. But yes, you can control how you play the game in a world built by those who do. And that, my friend, is the only real difference between those who awaken and those who are swallowed whole. You don't need to change this world, you just need to stop letting it change you into a pawn, slowly ground down in a game rigged for the powerful. Let me guess, right now you've got a few bills in your wallet. You still call it value, don't you? But have you ever paused and asked yourself, where does that value come from? From the ink? The bank signature? Or is it just the collective faith of millions who believe in this fragile piece of paper? Because the moment that collective faith starts to shake, that piece of paper becomes just that, a piece of paper. And make no mistake, that moment is already unfolding across the world. We're witnessing the silent collapse of trust in fiat currencies. For decades, the US dollar was seen as a god, omnipotent, untouchable, sacred in the global economy. But what god doesn't eventually crack? Ever since the G7 transformed the printing press into a political weapon, all moral boundaries and volume limits have been thrown out the window. The game is no longer fair, it's distorted, tilted, rigged. In response, the once submissive nations are fighting back. China and Russia are building an alternative payment system outside of SWIFT. India is trading with Central Asia in rupees. Brazil and South Africa are settling international deals in local currencies. What does that mean? It means they no longer believe the US dollar will rule forever. They are preparing for the post-dollar era. And while this new chapter is quietly being written, the average person is being crushed in silence. The middle class, the backbone of every stable society, is quietly falling apart. Food prices are rising daily. Housing is now a luxury dream. Saving money leads to losses. People work 2, even 3 jobs and still fall short. So here's the hard question. Why does it feel like the harder you work, the poorer you become? Because the money you earn today no longer holds the power it did yesterday. Inflation is the silent thief stealing from your future in broad daylight. Let me give you a simple analogy. Imagine you're in a leaking boat. You keep bailing water out with your bare hands, thinking you're saving yourself. But you're not solving anything. You're just organizing your desperation. That's exactly what's happening when people cling to cash, follow outdated savings advice, or invest in illusions of value. Meanwhile, the true elites, the real foxes of finance, have already pivoted. They're accumulating physical gold, buying agricultural land, owning equity in companies that generate real value. And recently, they've been quietly allocating into Bitcoin, not because they believe in digital utopia, but because they understand something deeper. Fiat money is losing its soul. And if you ask me, someone who studies macro trends and sees the global puzzle as a whole, what I see is no longer a crisis. It's a reset, a global financial reordering, a transformation. And in this new game, the winner won't be the one who holds the most money. It will be the one who holds the most true value assets, the kind that can't be printed into oblivion. Land, gold, ownership of real enterprise. Because let's be honest, you can't build wealth by playing by the rules of those who control the printing press. But you can walk away from their game if you know when and how to exit. Now is the time to rethink everything, your entire personal financial model. Your savings are no longer safe. Speculative stocks are far from secure. Your monthly salary? It's a tranquilizer, delaying your realization while the foundation beneath your life quietly erodes. If the soul of humanity was once built upon truth, then today the soul of money has been hijacked by power. And you, yes, you must decide what to do next. You can continue clinging to illusions, or you can shift to what cannot be faked. True value. True thinking. True action. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to speak plainly. If you still believe that holding cash equals safety, you've already lost at the starting line. What you need to hold now is not currency. You need selective belief, targeted knowledge, and a portfolio of assets that can't be wiped out by a single click from the G7. Crises don't kill you. Blindness does. Wake up. Step off the leaking boat before it sinks. And if you're still with me at this point, it means you're no longer asleep in the monetary dreamland. You're starting to smell something rotten. You're sensing the manipulation taking place inside your wallet without anyone even reaching into your pocket. Because the truth is, money today isn't money anymore. It's become a tool of behavioral control. An invisible leash used by the elites to drag entire nations into line. Every interest rate pivot, every rescue headline, every stimulus package isn't meant to save the poor. It's meant to fish you out with inflation and bait your soul with the fear of scarcity. So what does this all mean? It means that if you're measuring safety by the number in your bank account, you're already on the wrong side of the war. Your account won't protect you from monthly price hikes, quarterly asset erosion, or the seductive trap of fake stability. The illusion built to hide one eternal truth. When the masses feel safe, the elite are already preparing their next move. And when the masses are panicking, that's when the real players, people like me, step into action. The poor believe in bank balances. The wealthy follow the flow of real value. The awakened? They don't hold money. They hold truth in physical form, gold, land, real businesses. Just remember this one thing: this system was never designed to make you rich. It was built to make you dependent. You were taught how to spend wisely, but no one taught you how to financially survive. You were guided to save obediently, but no one taught you how to escape the slavery of paper money. That's why I'm not offering some get-rich-quick tactics. I'm calling on you to rethink everything from the ground up. Rethink what money is. Rethink what holds true value. Rethink whose game you're really playing. Because you cannot beat a rigged system by playing its game. But you can leave the game entirely once you understand the rules. And the rule is simple: accumulate assets, not cash. Stay alert when others are excited. Watch what the elite do, not what they say. I saw millions fall in 2008 because they trusted the media. I saw relief checks after COVID melt the middle class under inflation. And now? I see another earthquake coming. This time wrapped in monetary magic. So here's my final warning: if you don't know what you're holding, don't hold it. If you don't understand how money is created, you're building someone else's fortune. And if you don't act today, regret will be the only thing left in your pocket tomorrow. People aren't poor because they lack money. They're poor because they don't understand the rules of the game. Don't be a casualty in a silent war. Become the one who sees the battlefield clearly and retreats strategically to the right shelter. Because in a world where money is no longer money, reverse thinking is pure gold. And if you're still listening to this point, I know you're not here for entertainment. You're here because you're ready to take your financial future seriously. If you found even a single sentence today that made you stop and think, then this video was worth it. I'll continue creating content on wealth, success, and financial freedom. Subscribe, save the playlist, and prepare for what's next. Because the storm is not coming, it's already here. And those who survive are already building outside the system.